Oh look, another old TV. This is, turn a light on here, a Baycrest branded TV. This was a house brand for the department store, still around, Hudson's Bay Company, and they had their electronics brand called Baycrest. This particular set's from 1984. I could really only find mention of it in a French catalog from Quebec, showing some of the images of it now. And I really like this TV. Come on, stop blinking. Here we go. I really like it. It's got a nice, bright, clean picture, nice colors. Aesthetically, it's quite pleasing. It's got the little fake wood grain, lots of silver, sort of that 80s aesthetic. It's got the same volume and power knob that my grandparents' 20-inch Baycrest TV had. So a nice little bit of nostalgia there. I picked this up at a thrift store for $7.50. And upon looking at it, I realized that this was probably stored in a shed or a garage for at least a couple seasons, probably beside a lawnmower with all the grass clippings. So one fun project I had to do with this is it was missing the fine tuning knob. I can't remember if it was the UHF or VHF. They're the same. But all I had was one of these. I recently got a 3D printer, so I thought, hey, you know what would be fun? If I 3D print one of these. So I've been playing around with Fusion 360, so grabbed a caliper, modeled this, exported the file, did a bunch of things. I don't know, I'm still pretty new with this. And used all the default settings and made this, which I was pretty proud of. Then I realized that a lot of the default settings were wrong, extruder temperature, all sorts of stuff. So then I, with that knowledge, printed out two more, and they look fantastic. They work just as fine tuning should. They feel good. If you weren't looking really closely, you wouldn't even be able to tell that this was 3D printed. Let me pop one of these off here. So yeah, a bit of an improvement. I think there's still a ways to go. I'm learning with this, but it's a little bit silverier because I have silver filament versus this gray. And of course this is yellowed, completely yellowed. So aesthetically, this looks nicer than that. I guess if I wanted to go original, I could get some gray filament, but I think this looks just neat. Pop this on. Oh, I got it backwards. It goes there. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, that's a very fun use of a 3D printer. I'm also using it to print some missing knobs from Panasonic Boombox. So yeah, awesome. Back to this TV though. It's got, oh, it's so bright it's causing my camera to freak out. It's got a nice, bright, clean picture. The greens are a little weak for my liking. It's got more of that. Certain sets just had a weak green. That's the only way I can describe it. The grayscale's perfect. The color response is perfect. Green is there. The green gun on this, it's actually got a service mode you can put it into and do all the calibrations, which I did, made no difference. It was perfect out of the box. I did nothing to this. I didn't even clean the tuner. Like, I did not even clean the tuner. The only thing I cleaned was the volume knob, which I think is actually worn out because it still crackles a bit.
Extra nice.
So yeah, this thing is fantastic. Probably low hours. Most likely low hours. Small sets like this didn't get as much use as the big living room set. But yeah, nice bright picture. The green is weak, and I think that's in the color processing of the actual video signal. It's a little bit backed off on the green, and that could be in the tuner. There's other weird tuner things. The audio on stations is just quieter than off station. So like these stations are a little quiet on other TVs, but not full volume. And then if I go off station,
Another chair.
So this one's a little louder, but still.
Don't wiggle 'em, top critter. I'm leaving. So
That's not that loud for being full volume. And if I'm off station, the snow is extremely loud. That's the volume I would expect. So I think the tuner might have some sort of issues or service that needs to be done to it. But overall, it's a great TV. It's really not coming off. The quality of this picture is not coming off on this video at all. It is just gorgeous. Yeah, see that? No, see, it's white balancing the yellow and washing it out. It's a lot cleaner in real life. The joys of trying to film a CRT. AFT is a little wonky. So it's got this auto mode. Come on, where's my station? There it is. So it's got this auto mode, but I don't use it because no matter what, the tint is always off. It's got some sub controls inside that I kind of tweaked, but I have the tint turned to one side. Sub tint has this perfectly in the middle. This perfectly in the middle. Brightness is in the notch. Perfect. Picture is... where are we at? We're probably at about 2/3, I would say. Normally I wouldn't have it that high, but trying to counteract this light here. Tunes in all the stations nicely. But yeah, see, fine tuning. The thing about UHF on these TVs is that unlike VHF, which stores the fine tuning for each channel in a little slug, there's so many channels on UHF that it's just got one slug that it uses as the fine tuning for each station. So if you're on channel 14 and your fine tuning needs to be in the middle, and you go to channel 16 and it needs to be slightly off, you're constantly adjusting this if you're not using AFT or automatic fine tuning, which I'm not using because I don't know if it's coming off on here. It kind of makes the red look a little pink. Wow, the camera is absolutely correcting for that. Odd. VHF works great. I've just got a piece of wire in there, which of course is very susceptible to the noise coming from my lights. Let's turn off that electronic ballast.
You've grown a mustache!
I have. Quick, I just have time to remove it. Hand me my miracle mustache remover.
It's all working fantastic. Taking a look at the back here. I had this all apart. Each component, I covered all the paper labels and took it into the basement shower and washed and scrubbed all of it because it was just disgusting. This got a full clean. This is spotless. Didn't quite go dishwasher for the circuit board. I'm not at that level. Like some people who just, oh man, Spatzel turns stuff into like brand new. Not that level. Didn't quite need it. Just basically like a paintbrush. But I think it turned out quite nice as far as looking nearly brand new. This plastic's a little bit flexible. I don't know if I can make it bend here, but this is like really cheap flexible plastic. And it's new enough that it actually has a 75 ohm F connector on the back for VHF, which is funny because it has the antenna holder on here. So if you were to use the supplied rabbit ears, which I don't have, I have one pair of rabbit ears and they are used on my transmitter right now. Anyway, if you're using a pair of rabbit ears, you would need to have a little adapter to go to the 75 ohm. Taking a look on the back. It is a Baycrest model HB1423. So this is being marketed and sold as a 14-inch. What's interesting is it looks about the same size to me as a 13-inch. And this is one of those marketing things where sometimes the same tube could be marketed as 13 or 14-inch. I consider it a 13-inch TV, but it was marketed in the catalogs and everything as 14. Made in Japan by, and I haven't quite been able to make this out, it was like Shinjo Nero? If anyone knows what that actually is. So that's not Toshiba or Sanyo or one of the big brands. Although the CRT inside is branded Toshiba, and just general use and design of this very much reminds me of a Toshiba that I had as a child, a 13-inch color set from 1984. So my gut instinct is Toshiba, but it could also be a hodgepodge of parts put together by a different company, whatever this Shinjo Nerol of Japan is, and who knows. August, focus. August 1984. Hudson Bay, located in Winnipeg, Manitoba. On the back, there's really not much. There's vertical size. That's it. That's all you get. But there's lots of controls inside. So yeah, let's open this up. 4 screws, 1, 2, on the bottom 3, 4. Pop the power cable out. Take this back piece off, and we're going to be in. One neat thing here is this little metal clip. I was trying to figure out, as I was reassembling this, I was trying to figure out, what does that clip do? Then I realized, I saw some screw marks in this corner. This gets mounted in the center here, but it's got these outer holes in kind of a mirror pattern here. Oh, okay, you just take the screw that normally attaches this to the back and just sort of hang this here, because otherwise this likes to just flap right against the CRT and get in the way of all the danger bits. Kind of a neat little service thing there. Taking a look inside. Yep, that's a TV board. Lots of high wattage resistors. You got one here, got a whole slew of them over there, and you can definitely smell them when the set's on. Modern flyback. Then take a look down here. We have the adjustments for red drive, green drive. So blue drive is fixed on this set. And then you have your cutoff controls, your bias or cutoff. Vertical size, which is accessible through the back. It's got a service mode switch there. And then down here, let's get some focus. There's an APC control right there. And there's another one, I think that was the sub picture. You know what? Let's look at the diagram. It has a diagram inside here that shows you where everything is. Oh, wait, I got that upside down. How handy. So that is the AGC control to adjust the automatic gain control, how much gain you get. APC is just, it feels like a bit of a sub-tint control for the automatic picture. But what's interesting is that it's still affected by the sub-tint over here. So if you center this sub-tint, then you can further offset the APC with this APC control, but it only affects the tint. Horizontal hold is hidden in the board here. Yeah, it's still old enough where it showed you where everything was, all the major components. And on the front, you have an accessible vertical hold control, which is kind of getting not that common in 1984. Contrast, and then continuing along the accessible knobs, brightness, color, and tint. So your standard 4 plus vertical hold. Then you have your sub-tint, sub-color, and sub-brightness. And those are a little tricky to get to. You need to use a flat blade screwdriver through some holes in the front, very similar to the Toshiba that I had, and aim it just right. Here's the Toshiba CRT. And this horrible clear plastic that they used on a lot of wire bundles back then that just turns to goo. And so all the dust and dirt that was in here is stuck to it, but it's actually preventing it from being goopy. If I clean this dirt off, then I just introduce a new sticky layer. So I wiped these down, but that's really all I'm willing to do because it's just gross. I haven't noticed any issues with capacitors on this. The linearity seems spot on, vertical, everything is just fine. I've been running this for a while. So as it stands, I'm going to do nothing with it. I'm going to do absolutely nothing. The quiet audio in the tuner is a little annoying, and that could be anything. And it doesn't bother me that much, so I'm probably going to leave it. Ooh, look, some more beefy resistors. One final thing, let's show it off with some test patterns. I've been wanting to get a good test pattern generator lately, and this came up for cheap locally, and I was like, well, this could This could do. I don't exactly know how old this is, but I do know that it was serviced in February of 1967 and then again in February of 1971. So it's older than 1967, probably early to mid 60s, I'm going to say. It's a tank. It's got something like, I don't know, 14 tubes inside. It's all tube. Gave it a quick recap. There was maybe 5 wax paper caps inside, plus the can. And it's still not great. If you take a look here, let me stop that. Oh, interesting. I can't seem to sync to the frame rate on here. It's doing that beep, 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 beep thing. Huh. Oh well. Color pattern's pretty decent, but it's got a bit of a wave that goes across it, like a wub wub. And there's some internal adjustments for the oscillator that you can kind of tweak that, but yeah. Dots. Oh yeah, you can sort of see it waving there. It's going in and out. And then the crosshatch. As you can see, looks pretty decent on this set. Pretty decent, if I must say so. This has pattern and pattern plus sound, but I think the sound just mutes. So doesn't actually make a sound, it just modulates sound as opposed to not modulating sound. If I go back to the color, so you can see modulating sound puts some noise on here. So yeah, there's some tweaks and adjustments and things probably. And then of course there's a chroma adjustment. Oop, that's not even at 100%. Boop. There we go. 100% modulated. You can see there's some noise there on the edge, like it's kind of jagged. Now if I turn the chroma down to about 40%, that goes away and it kind of softens. And then as I turn it down further, you get nothing. Pretty much nothing there. And then I can modulate it past, so that's 100. And I can keep going up and up and up. Just makes it brighter and more jagged. It really freaks out the camera. Yeah, the camera doesn't seem to want to get rid of that moving line. I think that, you know what? I bet you this is oscillating slightly off of 60 Hertz then. Because usually I can sync to this, and I think that's because my camera is doing 30 frames per second, and it has no trouble. Like if I go here, see there's no movement, it's just working fine. But if I go to that, I think that's because it's slightly off, because this is old tube equipment, and that's what happens. One modification I did do to the back of this is it had some crappy old coax cable that I swear probably had asbestos insulation in it. That's gone, and I've just replaced it with a little F connector. I was able to just find a spot to drill it right through here. So I don't have to worry about having an extra cable on here. I can just plug this in. Works a treat. What the heck? Let's look inside this. Something interesting with older Canadian equipment is how often I see a Robertson screw on like electronics, old TVs and radios. Seeing Robertson screws on consumer devices like that is extremely rare. That's mainly a construction screw that was ubiquitous in Canada. But if you go back far enough, Robertson was on everything. Oh yeah, glow time. Transformer's got a good hum to it as well. Nice. So if I recall, there's adjustments in here. I don't remember if I have to take this back piece off, like this piece that holds the wires in place, or if I have to take the whole back off, but it's along. Oh no, this explains what they are, so I think I just have to take this cable holder off. At any rate, I mean, it could be a weak tube, it could be any number of things in here, and whatever, it works well enough. And I love this TV. This TV is great. It's my new favorite. Especially with my fancy 3D printed knobs. Anyway, I just wanted to show off this fun little TV that I picked up. Yeah, not a lot of info out there. It seems to be a pretty decent set. Went for quite a bit of money back in the day and seems to have lasted well. Thanks for watching.
My mom says I'm the handsomest guy in school. I like you too, Millhouse, but not in that way. You're more like a big sister. No, I'm not. Why does everybody keep saying that?